And KT don't often draft for winning bottom lanes. That's not how they draft early. They look for strong jungle, mid synergy, or a counter pick for BDD. BDD's champion pool is so massive right now. Kind of historically always has been, but he's the one who's pulling out the eclectic picks. You don't need blue side if you're KT. I think this is the setup you want, ideally. You're just going to go first pick in every scenario. You're not looking to go, aha, I got blue side and counter pick, like a lot of other teams have been doing with the blue side in game one. See Bard taken away from Andil right away. A lot of respect still being shown, despite the struggles here for Kiwoom DRX.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We haven't seen Andil play Bard in a while, it feels like, just because everybody bans it against him. He's not the only support that gets a ban against him, obviously. Karma was nerfed, but perhaps not a strong enough nerf, as he is still banned here.
Pantheon still incredibly strong. Could be a pick here for Cuzz if he wants it, if it's left available. I think it's likely to go in that third spot. The Orianna will be banned here by KT Rolster. So that's the likely choice here. And then things get a little bit more open-ended. You could ban Jarvan or Ryze for BDD. And this makes the call pretty simple to me. Obviously you're not going to have a Ryze with the Pantheon, but go for the Pantheon works with so many different picks. And it's definitely going to be a Jarvan pick on the other side, but with what is the question? Whoa, zoom in on him. Block that, Jarvan.
He's got to pick something. Ezreal.
Oh, sorry. I forgot, guys. It's Kiwoom DRX. They first pick Ezreal every game one.
Yeah, a lot of teams showing a lot of focus and priority on the Ezreal pick, but
this is a Kiwoom thing. Like they basically just every time.
LazyFeel.
Yeah,
and looks like it might be Zhao alongside of it. So perhaps Jarvan will be saved for game 2.
Yeah, Pantheon's still technically flexible, but I do think you don't want to be playing Jarvan into Ezreal with its face up like this anyways. So now what's it going to be? Obviously the perfect Yorick ban there, the ban to protect this pick here made it likely he was going to play Jayce. As we've seen, though, K'Sante be great in this. But I think this is a vote of the lack of confidence in Rich here for KT Rolster, saying that even if he plays K'Sante here, as many have, or Sion, he might just get solo killed. We might even be able to generate a lead further from this, whereas other top laners have been a brick wall to the Jayce. And the Annie pick here works incredibly well with Pantheon. So he is going to pick the Sion. And I think if you're KT Rolster, based on, and I hate to say it, even though he did pick up that one POM against Nongshim, I think as KT Rolster, you're like, we could do this against this team, and it'll be fine. We ban the Yorick, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think you can definitely get away with it. Although Sion, 7-0 right now, definitely feels very strong in the LCK. A lot of those games were played against Jayce, but I think what you're trying to hammer home is that it is a little bit of a current form gap between our two top laners, as Ashe and Nautilus going to be taking away a lot of Nautilus bans.
Yeah, Nautilus really interesting for me in this situation. Works well with Ezreal and can be good to defend dives because of his root and his dredge line, obviously, to hold whoever's under turret aggro in place. But we don't know what's going to be on the bottom side. Oftentimes in the past, we see a Nautilus man, you think, oh, he's playing Zeri. Because Nautilus presses R, then Zeri can't get away. Same with Yunara. But this draft for KT Rolster doesn't really have a strong front line to play a hyper carry like that in it. So I think this is a little bit more open-ended than it may appear. I think the Ashe pick would have been fantastic here for KT Rolster, but that was obviously always going to be banned away. There's a lot of different options for aiming in this situation. You could even go for a Lucian draft if they wanted to. We'll have to cut through that Sion health bar. A lot of options here for Ucal as well. The Mel nerf may mean that that's a little bit less likely to be seen here, as we will see the removal of the Neeko.
Yeah, Aurora, I'm surprised, doesn't get a look in.
Yeah, I'm thinking Aurora or Hui may be the angle here for Ucal. Hui allows you to chip away and poke a lot. You already have the Ezreal, and you've got a good front line. And now you've got the Engage to make this work with the Neeko pick coming through. Okay, he's just going to look for the scaling safe Sivir here. Not
Sivir,
expect the Yuumi.
Okay. Yeah, we don't really see this bottom lane nowadays. Generally, when you get a chance to pick two things together, you don't see Sivir and Yuumi. A lot of Ash Seraphine, Lucian Nami even. There's that Aurora, which seemed pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's going to come through. It's a pretty expensive choice, I think, for this draft. You know, if you don't end up winning this game, you're not going to have access to this later on. But it's a strong pick and can bully the Annie early, depending on how the lane is played out. going to be a lot of electrocute trades, and BDD will look to prep his stun at every opportunity he has. But I do think that the mid jungle is stronger for KT Rolster just by the nature of Pantheon and how much burst damage he has. So even if Ucal is generating a lead and trying to push those lanes in, that leaves him vulnerable potentially. There is no roaming Yuumi. That's another thing here for KT Rolster. Yuumi historically not able to really roam and impact mid lane. So maybe Andil, if he can get control of the bottom lane with LazyFeel there and roam around the map, could actually be a huge difference maker here in this game. But LazyFeel's laning phase, you know, that's the question we always have. And if I'm happy to stay in this lane and bully this Ezreal as much as I can if his support's going to be leaving, because he has struggled to get the CS.
So this apparently is Hina from QWER. You guys might have seen this group during the breaks, and she is the KRX ambassador. So she's here to support the team, and hopefully they can get the win tonight.
Well, you got a cat on the drawing. We got a cat in the game. So unfortunately not for Kiwoom DRX, though.
Is she cheering for the other side?
No, she would never.
Not as the KRX ambassador. Either way, guys, it looks like we do have our drafts up and ready to go, as it will be Kiwoom DRX up against KT Rolster, game number 1.
미니언들이 생성되었습니다.
All right, game number 1 of the day and of the week. And already
the lane is over.
Well,
like, it's Annie level 1. I cannot remember the last game we saw Annie at level 1 not come to look for a stun in the bottom lane. It is one of the strongest like level 1s ever. And yes, he does.
I thought maybe he would try to bounce on the minions and stop the backs, but it was a little bit too late for the Ezreal and didn't want to push the wave so that he could deny some CS, especially the experience.
Usually when you go for this play, you want to bring attention down. Sometimes you can even, you know, like get the, like if you can get an extended trade, you could bring somebody else over here. But in a perfect world, what usually happens is you end up getting the health advantage in the 2v2. Instead, we're looking at a massive experience lead, so level 2 is guaranteed here, and this is going to be a bit of a tough time in these early levels here for LazyFeel and Andil. See how much poke can get done. It does have that health advantage over aiming, but that doesn't matter that much with the potion chugging and the Yuumi on his back. Good hit here, though.
Yeah, still a decent amount of poke that comes out from LazyFeel and Andil, so aiming an effort with the Yuumi. It's not like they can go ultra aggressive on level 2, but still going to enjoy the lead that they have in the lane. And denying level 2 here from LazyFeel and Andil for as long as possible. Speaking of which, here comes Andil, not going to hit the roots. And that's going to be very important for this trade, as KT do end up winning it.
Yeah, effort using the Airy. It does not feel exactly like old Yuumi, where you actually used to get a lot of harass done before the changes did come through, kind of a mini rework because she was basically ruining pro games. But get a little bit of annoyance done with this keystone here, as you can see, as LazyFeel is going to get pushed away. And now the wave is not where he wants it to be, and this will probably require, you know, Willer to come over here and try to do something, although it is going to push back as I say it. So not the end of the world, but not the beginning of the game on the foot that Kiwoom DRX wanted.
Yes, not the end of the world, and also not the beginning of the world. We do know how that happens.
Bit of a base.
Cuzz is coming on in here, but Andil already roaming. When becomes lightning does come in, and now Cuzz is in a rough spot. He's going to have to flash over to his team as the heal does come over. No exhaust just yet for effort, as Willer has to continue forward, picks up first blood, but will give a kill back over to aiming, and now LazyFeel going up against red and blue buff, having a bit of trouble, tries to flash Q, but does not land it, and aiming will respect for now as he returns to the lane.
Yeah, they have to be careful, though, Kiwoom DRX's bottom duo, because, you know, this Yuumi's going to have another set of spells ready, and that will be too much to deal with here. As you can see, we'll avoid this prowling projectile. Actually, nice poke there from Andil, but won't amount to too much. If they had tried to continue the trade, though, I think they probably would have really regretted it, and still it's a huge wave crashing. See if we can get that cannon. Andil will secure it. Oh my god!
Andil's getting very low here.
All right, well,
projectile not going to hit LazyFeel.
it's a bullet hell game now.
Yeah. Kind of surprised. I mean, they're trying to stay here for this wave, and I think they should be able to. The flash forward, the root comes in! Effort blocks the Q, though, but it doesn't matter, as the damage is there from the Neeko, and LazyFeel and Andil pick up 2 kills.
That was about as risky as Kiwoom DRX could have played that situation, but the risk pays off immensely as 2 kills do go over to the bottom lane and save this for them in a big way. Now, one of those kills goes over to Neeko, who does end up having the real gold lead down there, as it is, of course, a trade back. But down here, or over here, up here, an aggressive exchange. I don't know, I was trying to do the handoff just in case. So this is the initial play where, Cuzz was isolated and is forced to flash to his teammates, as we are having that extended trade for Rich, as he died, actually. So, like I said, #1 solo killer versus #1 solo killed. Kind of a problem here. This ends up being Aiming getting this first kill. So, at this point, if LazyFeel and Andil had played safe and not tried to press this advantage, for example, which was, by the way, he is walking the thinnest of margins on this one. If they just let this wave go, they're 20 CS down. Aiming has a kill. They lost the early level 1, so it was a really rough time for them there. And this really kind of saves it for them. They're still behind, actually, in the AD carry department, but LazyFeel flashes forward, secures that kill. So only 150 gold behind, as the AD carry is still 17 CS behind, but it could have been much worse, let's say, if they had just backed away and not looked for that, what felt like a 1 out of 10 chance of actually working play. It was incredibly risky, but it was played super well. So we'll watch Perfect up here. And it just kind of runs him down, transforms, flashes.
So Rich had flash, he just elected not to use it, and Perfect kills him with his flash.
Well, Perfect, goes into point blank range there, and I think Rich was like, okay, if he tries to go for a shock blast, I'll flash it and I'll be fine. But Perfect just got on top of him and didn't give him that opportunity.
Yeah, very nicely played from Perfect at the end of the day.
No.
It's happening again, as Rich might just die here, although he has the ult this time, and Willer is here. And Rich does survive for now. Perfect on the run. He doesn't have his flash, and I think he might just be dead as Cuzz level 5. He can't make his way up here.
Oh, look at
nice
his XP
this time.
His XP is so close. Cuzz is so close to 6, so he doesn't have it. And that's unfortunate there for Perfect, but really well played there by Kiwoom DRX to kind of sell that. That's the argument I'll make. They sold it really well. Aiming.
Gonna use Heal and Ghost just to try to get out there. Aiming also missing a cannon. I mean, they're still ahead, but for some reason it feels so tense down here.
This is the thing, LazyFeel and Andil didn't respect the BDD level 1, but their mechanics are incredible, right? You can see it on display here, and they're fighting back really well. We're seeing so much of the poke land from both of them to make this lane competitive. And then we had the outplays down there with the greedy stay rather than backing in the lane, paying off as maybe a delay on the back. Nope. And so, they're down on CS. This is kind of the LazyFeel classic for me, right? Every time I look at the lane, I'm like, he's so down on CS. But then you look at the team fights later on in the mid game, you're like, wow, this guy's got hands. It's just every single game feels this way to me. And you can feel why Kiwoom DRX trusts this guy, because his potential is absolutely there, but he never walks out of lane with a bag of gold in his pocket, it feels like.
Yeah, this might be the closest he's been in a while, to be honest, even with the way it went at level 1. Looks like Ucal's feeling fine in mid. He's a little bit behind, but it's Annie who just keeps putting Tibbers on top of him, so not going to love that all that much. Is Andil going to find the enemy team and die? Not sure what happened there. He was kind of walking through the dark jungle and died.
Sometimes you want to check that. Sometimes it's not best to check that. And by that, I mean, I don't know, he was trying to ward the brush aggressively there in the river.
Well, he warded over the wall, and then he just walked in a straight line past the tri-brush. And if they're there, you just die, which he did.
He didn't have level 6. He's significantly behind in XP for all the reasons we mentioned. Plus, he roamed. So he doesn't have his ult for safety. Flash, not going to help him in that situation.
They can hold that wave, too, if they want to. Rich behind about a little bit over a kill and a half.
It makes you wonder, like, what's going wrong here. I think it almost could be studied for LazyFeel. Like, is he trying to go for too many aggressive trades, and so he never is able to play with lane manipulation to get the wave where it needs to be, or, you know, what's going on? Because it feels like every single game he's constantly trying to fight his way out of a bad lane state. And we're not always watching exactly how that happens, but obviously we know what happened at level 1 here, but they were able to get the kill back. Either way, all in on the BDD.
Yeah, BDD in a bit of trouble. He lands that stun onto Willer, and the damage is followed up here by Ucal. Zhao does follow through, and that's a kill for the Kiwoom mid laner. Gonna feel pretty good about that one.
Pretty early, pretty aggressive early game. Pretty nice lead for Kiwoom.
I'll block the ult here. Willer is on the way. Out of mana is perfect, and Cuzz makes his way in, but it's late. At least they get the flash out of Rich.
Ucal incredibly aggressively positioned here and is picking up a lot of plate gold. He's also doing wonders for his role quest with this exchange here, and finds himself a little bit ahead in farm as well. So gold stacking up here for Kiwoom DRX in this early game. They did not get the punish onto Rich, but his flash, but did not get the gold. So we have a lead here for the AD carry and for Jayce for KT Rolster, and we do not have, you know, mid-jungle here present in this game really for KT Rolster at the moment. So fairly even game state, but BDD is flashless as well despite dying earlier on. Ucal still has his, so he is definitely where Willer's going to be kind of pitching a tent for the next few minutes in his lane,
yeah,
or nearby, you know.
Feels pretty interesting. You know, what's happened here in the jungle. It feels like Willer has been a lot more proactive around the map, looking for, you know, big catches like that play he did with Andil on the Cuzz. Even though it got kind of crazy, like they still got first blood, and eventually his bottom lane came through. And also, you know, the gank on a BDD helping out Ucal there, whereas Cuzz, you know, his first ult in top lane onto Sion, like they get the flash, as we were just talking about, but like that's not that important.
Yeah, for
really.
Sion.
Like maybe Sion has to play a little bit more safely, but not really, because he's just going to get more and more tanky. Perfect will do less and less.
And Perfect did get a solo kill early in this matchup, but it does feel like the Sion is doing what it's supposed to here, as we do have the exhaust coming back. LazyFeel has taken so much damage, and this just continues to be an unhappy place for the Vietnamese bottom laner.
Yeah, it feels pretty unfortunate. You can only dodge so much with your shift, and he does dodge quite a lot with the shift, but the issue is, you know, when it's on cooldown, you just get a bunch of stuff thrown in your face, and you can't dodge everything.
And while you're trying to dodge and layer damage back, you're 2 levels down as Andil here. Well, it will be in just a second here when Effort gets this wave, but you're also like losing CS as LazyFeel. You know, you're trying to farm, but it's difficult. And like right now, he just had the back, so he's going to lose another minion or 2. Perfect looks pretty frustrated with this situation up here on the top side, of trying to generate a further lead, but doesn't have information about where Willer is, and so is just going to take a back opportunity. Speaking of Rich, I was just going to drop a word here. And like BDD is playing incredibly defensively because he knows he doesn't have flash. He knows Ucal does. And this is a very frustrating play. Well, I say it.
Yeah, he was playing defensively until you mentioned it, Wolf, as Andil is here and BDD is dead. There's 3 of them in the mid lane, and BDD already 0 and 2. Not feeling very good about his position on the hunt, as here comes Cuzz, but it's Ezreal, so he just arcane shifts to the turret.
Well, it is very rare, in my experience, with casting both the 2023 KT Rolster first place All-Pro roster with aiming on it, and this roster here with aiming on it, where aiming is the one with the 1.1k gold lead and has to be the main character and carry the game. This is usually not the MO. He gets a lot of money later, but Perfect is going to get TP'd on.
He got hit by the shout, and now he has to flash away with the TP coming in. LazyFeel attempting to help too with the True Shot Barrage across the map.
This game state will test Kiwoom DRX's ability to take this lead and roll with it. You know, it's Ucal, I mentioned right at the start, like he's the guy who's the most stable of these 3 lanes. And you got a CS deficit in the bottom lane. Rich got solo killed, but he's stabilizing. And now Ucal is going to have to get a lot of work done with this Aurora pick that he has got great mastery of. KT already got the first dragon. Looking like they're trying to set up here to clear some of this vision away for a potential second one. They have that bottom side prio, but BDD still flashless here for a few more seconds. And we do see the Pantheon is heading towards the top side of the jungle, so it's like we're not going to see a dragon take anytime soon here for them.
Yeah, Cuzz, it's been kind of a weird early game for a Pantheon. It almost feels Canyon-esque, where it's like he got pressured a little bit early. He died, and now he's just kind of been farming, and then when he has his ult up, he tries to ult somewhere, but it looks a little bit desperate, like they're reaching, you know? It's not like, oh, we're going for a proactive dive as 4, like Andy's coming down, we're going to make a play. No, it's like, no, maybe we can catch this Ezreal. Oh, no, we didn't get him.
Yeah,
okay, back to farming.
This is like a quintessential KT game for me. Even from behind, right? You're like, okay, we're just going to wait for an opportunity. Kanavi's like already up in that bottom lane. Like he's like, oh, LazyFeel doesn't have flash. I'll be down there without my ultimate. I'll see you there. You guys have crashed how many waves into that turret and you haven't killed that guy? I think that's a big dichotomy between these two teams and how they play. As KT just waits for opportunities in team fights and skirmishes, and they look for the best possible outcome. Whereas, you know, teams like Life eSports and to a lesser extent, even teams like D+ and T1 force those outcomes to the best of their abilities. Cuzz is going to look for one here. On to Rich again.
And this is a Sion with plated steel caps against a Pantheon. Like, you're not going to do any damage to this guy anymore. As Wheeler makes his way up, the Crescent Guard, he gets stunned. And so that's going to delay this push. But here comes Ucal looking to drop it all down with this flash. Perfect doesn't have his, as he nearly misses everything, but he at least gets the damage down. And that's another kill for the side of Kiwoom DRX.
Yep. Just trying to, Hina's trying to have a snack, but you got to keep cheering because Kiwoom DRX
keeps winning.
Looking like they're going to maybe be the third team to take a game off KT Rolster right now, as Aiming gets the whole turret. Now, in some senses, you can understand why Cuzz is like, look, Aiming doesn't need help. And I want to get my Jayce ahead because, you know, this is not a lead that Perfect has generated that we're super happy with, because the Sion's is going to be difficult to pressure later on because he could become so tanky. But this backfires, right? And they're actually going to lose almost the entirety of the turret, as you guys could see it in the pip, but we'll lose it shortly after this. Perfect ends up dying in this 2v2, and I kind of start to wonder, maybe if you had just maybe removed LazyFeel from the game, it could have been way better. Like, you know, maybe just continue to push him out, because yes, he is 1,200 gold behind, but you could have like prevented him from farming even further and played through that and let Perfect be a little bit more self-sustainable there as the Jayce. As this Cuzz Pantheon finds itself completely outmatched by Willer, and Ucal is making plays everywhere. And I know it's only a 1,000 gold lead here, but the win cons become fairly simple if the Ezreal can, despite being 1,200 gold down, get to a stable 2 items here. The Aurora will do the work.
So our top laners are going to trade TPs. Perfect got the turret and he got out. So pretty good for Perfect, actually. It's an Ocean Soul, which I feel like is pretty decent for Kiwoom DRX with the Sion and even the Zhao, but we'll see if they get an opportunity to pick up some more Drakes here. And KT, you know, after kind of a middling early game, have elected to just sit back and farm once again and wait for the enemy to make mistakes. And you mentioned, you know, this is a good test for Kiwoom DRX to see how they do in the mid game. That has been their biggest issue. You know, they've won early games before, and then it got to mid and late game, and it was like, ooh, some of these decisions, some of these macro plays were just not it.
Because Perfect traded his TP to escape there, but also got to push the bottom lane, gave BDD an opportunity to swap with him to go to top side without using his TP, and now still has his TP available, as he is down 1,000 gold, but Annie's still Annie, right? They are not playing a dive comp where, you know, she's going to set up some chain CC, you're going to go on top of it, but you do have a Pantheon, right? So this should be the end of this turret. So that's a big win here again for Kiwoom DRX, which will push their lead back up to 700. As Rich is not alone.
There's a lot of stuff happening there, but we got an engage on Aiming as everybody turns and focuses on the AD carry, and KT takes him down. Does LazyFeel.
And BDD TP'd to try to prevent Perfect from dying, but I don't know if that was necessary. And now BDD lost his TP as well, so they're losing on 2 places at once on the map at the same time, arguably all 3, because your top lane presence in BDD is TPing away from the top side. Your mid lane AD carry, you know, Aiming is trying to push these waves through. His Sivir is not safe here, gets dove and killed. And then your bottom lane is pressured away, which is your top laner there, but you lose controlling all 3 lanes all at the same time here, and the lead jumps up to 1,200 for Kiwoom DRX. So, starting to feel like they are doing all the right things, starting to feel like they know how to close this one out, and we've talked about it so many times. LazyFeel is going to hit that 2-item spike despite the deficit. The deficit, by the way, much smaller now, and he's got hands. He's out of the laning phase now. This is the part where he's scary.
Yeah, he's ready to party, essentially, and I mean, aiming's got to be very careful going that aggressively onto the super fed Zhao, who is the most fed member compared to his opponent on the other side. And, you know, you feel kind of invincible when you're Sivir and you have Ghost and Ult and Flash and Yuumi, but that's going to cost them. You know, you mentioned that that bit of a gap that was there for the side of aiming is mostly gone. He's still got about 500 gold ahead, but that becomes smaller and smaller as the game comes along. And it might just be some free Drakes here for Kiwoom DRX as well to kind of bolster their lead.
Yeah, each individual Ocean Drake doesn't matter in the greatest sense compared to all of the objectives and all the dragons it could have been here in League of Legends, but it is really good for a Sion who's just sitting over here, you know, being able to regenerate health passively. It's already very difficult to deal with by the Jayce here, and he's had a lot of prio just trying to knock down these plates. Yeah, well, just leave him alone now, Rich, it's fine. And they have a lot of control over the map. And then when Annie doesn't have control over the map, and when Annie's behind, just sitting on a Malignance and tier 3 boots, you're like, okay, well, perfect. He'll do the damage, right? Just don't hit the Sion. Hit all the important ones, and surely aiming will clean up when he gets to 3 items later. That's the game plan for KT. And I don't know if it's going to happen. Like, I would, even though KT has been our best team and Kiwoom DRX have messed up some leads, it's hard to see a world right now where, with how Kiwoom have been playing, and KT get a way back in here without like a big mistake. Even with the Sivir that's got great wave clear and is going to farm really hard right now, they just don't have any control, as you guys can see here, anywhere on the map. Even the Jayce doesn't have control in the side lane, the Sion, so... And you've got a Yuumi, so there's no trickery, there's no, aha, I set up this really cool like Leona or Nautilus flank, or there's a Pyke roaming around. Yuumi's like, all right, well, hopefully we can team fight later. I'm with you guys.
Yeah, best friends forever.
Forever. Hopefully that's like 35 minutes.
Perfect. Continuing to take aggressive trades here against Rich, which is good to see, because if you begin to just become useless as side lane Jayce, you feel really bad then. Whereas the rest of the map, again, I think, as you've been highlighting, Wolf, I think they're just going to try to make, or wait for Kiwoom DRX to make a mistake. And just sit back and, you know, we'll fight over the Ocean Soul when it comes to it. Or we'll fight over the Baron if they fight, if they actually try to push the issue on that one. And really the onus is on Kiwoom DRX to try to push the pace of the game.
And they are, I think, to a pretty decent degree doing that. Rich finally gets this turret, and that gives him his gold lead for the first time in this game. And they have vision everywhere. KT are clearing some of that topside vision now around the Baron. They have their own Baron vision set up there, but it took a lot of resources for them to do this. Looks like they may try to look for a play here onto Ucal, but Cuzz is so far away. He just completed his back, so he'll need to show up here if he's going to ult in and look for that opportunity. Meanwhile, bit of a lurk.
I think he knows something is up, but he doesn't know well enough, as here comes everybody. Even the Flash and the ult going to be used on top of the rocket belt, so Ucal does get away. A lot of mobility there, but still a good chunk into him. He'll have to back off and KT get position here.
I don't think they can start the Baron, though. So this ultimately means BDD flashes for Ucal's flash, and, you know, there's not a turret to take up here on the top side or anything like that, so it's not really the win KT was looking for. Obviously, it still feels like they've executed the plan well, but they wanted much more than a flash trade off of this one. No bear for you. No red buff for you.
Aiming is in a bit of trouble. Yes, a flash away. The ult only hits the front line, though, from Andil, and no follow-up is there. Kiwoom DRX are very deep in the jungle, as the Yuumi's trying to get over to his team, but instead just dies, or at least the Annie does, and then he dies, as Rich makes his way in with the TP and makes a difference.
I think the lead is just too big here for this Aurora. Like, she's doing all the work, and it looks like, oh, maybe they're fine. And Ucal's like, I didn't press all my buttons yet. And then the health bar disappears. Cuzz is now running away. No flash. And no empower either. Gonna go for this jump onto the Krug.
Perfect's so fast. I think he's just fine.
Yeah, he is going to get out. A little Gromp hop there. Learned from the frog that became the Gromp to hop. Okay, this is silly. Do not do this, Cuzz.
They're going in on the Cuzz, who has been struggling all game long. At least going to dodge that one, but the damage is too much as the sun comes in. BDD here as well. He's like, are we fighting? I don't know. And it's going to be the end of the KT jungler for now. It looks like Kiwoom DRX will be happy with that pick.
Scores probably feeling like, you know, he didn't expect it, but there's a scary chance that maybe this is the time his record is broken from 2017. At least in game one here, it's not looking great, as this initially looks like Kiwoom have overextended. These are the types of plays and overextensions that KT are hoping for to come back in this game. That's why they're grouped. They're waiting to see if Kiwoom will actually kind of take the bait. LazyFeel dies instantly here, but the Ucal is like, I've got Rich, you guys are all dead. And it ends up being a 2-for-1 there in their favor. This Sivir is very strong, and still stronger than the Ezreal, and can absolutely clean up fights if the Aurora dies, or, you know, uses her spells and kind of whiffs it, or isn't able to do efficient damage. I think aiming can clear. You can destroy that Sion's health bar almost instantly. Well, just give him a few seconds, he can do it. And they can still win team fights, but not looking great so far as Ucal.
Yeah, Cuzz is going in, but they're being zoned by Rich at the same time, so Cuzz is just going to die, going way too far forward. A lot of damage coming out here from aiming with that LDR, but they're going to flash on in. Tons of damage being done to that backline as the ricochets are too much. As Perfect will go down, but aiming still alive, and the double stun from BDD gets them the win in the fight. Triple kill for aiming as they stack for the Sivir, and aiming says thank you very much.
It just didn't seem like they knew exactly what they wanted to do there. Kiwoom DRX and KT Rolster just played a beautiful front to back. I mean, it was also Perfect going in. That really split up the team fight, forces LazyFeel back. And then BDD gets the massive Tibbers, and that's the Dragon. So initially here, you're like, Cuzz, what's going on? Ucal's right there. He's going to burst you down. But Rich is pushing on the top side. And Cuzz ends up taking a while to kill here, and the Rich is taking so much damage. Like I said, give him a few seconds from the Sivir, yeah.
Oh.
And then this engage here from Willer is not enough to stop Perfect's follow-up. He ends up deleting his opposition, dies for it, but that's a double stun here for BDD, and aiming is just doing tons of damage. Triple kill for the Sivir here in this exchange. They grab Dragon, and he did 9,000 damage in that single fight. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of like what I was alluding to. It can happen. And KT like, it will happen.
He almost bought a full Infinity Edge.
Yeah,
like, this is out of control, and Kiwoom DRX say, well, time to pull the trigger on the Baron.
Cuzz does have ult. Yeah, could just go for it.
I mean, they need a little bit more vision, and now he can just ult in. I think this is a bit risky, as they're going to look for Ucal, it looks like. No, just going to ult straight into the front line, as Cuzz is really having a rough time in this one, but trying to play aggressive, I suppose, for aiming to do the damage. Perfect looks like he's doing the same, and he's going to die. And now we got the charge in from Rich, but they are showing a lot of respect to aiming, not over-forcing onto the Sivir just yet.
At this point, I think KT should just let the Baron do the work. They don't need to fight before the Baron started, but they're trying to for some reason onto Rich, who's doing so much tanking.
There's not a lot of damage onto this Baron, so KT very patient with it. The knock-up not going to hit aiming. He survives, but there's the stun from the Sion. He flashes away, and he lives, and Kiwoom DRX down, or up a member rather, are still going to lose this fight against the Sivir. They could not lock down aiming as trying to take up EDD, and at least Ucal will do that.
Okay, I think the Sivir damage is too much.
Where's he at? Trying to burst down. Aiming is not going to work. That was never going to work, especially with the spell shield.
Yeah, he's like,
Yuumi.
So you're a burst mage. I have a spell shield.
Wow.
Okay, well that's IE, by the way, and change he's picked up here off of this play. Now up to 8 kills.
And the whole jungle.
Yeah, so I did not like exactly how KT played this. Cuzz is having an off day, let's just say. Now, Perfect was also trying to get into the back line here and trying to repeat the play he made just moments ago, but this is a completely different situation, so that was kind of disastrous here. And then KT finally do slow down. This spell shift from aiming is actually what probably turns the game around for them, because he just simply avoids getting knocked up. And then Kite's back here, has a great flash. And now there's just too much damage between BDD and aiming, cutting through all these health bars. And the only one who could burst down this Sivir is Ucal, right? But it's a Sivir, so he probably shouldn't try for it. Yeah. We kind of explained it already, but that's a lot of money he picked up. I don't know if he got a bounty even off of Ucal. I was not actually watching that, but he may have. He has 3,600 gold ahead now, and he's done 30,000 damage this game.
He's close to 5 items already. It's like he's almost full build with how much they're feeding aiming in this game. I mean, he's the gold king, and he's playing it well, outside of, going a little bit aggressively onto Willer that one time. But again, as I explained, he had everything up, so he felt safe. He's just kind of playing the dream Sivir game, We saw this, I think it was actually Kiwoom DRX against T1, where game 1 was like, oh, we're just going to let them have Ezreal Karma, and we're going to pick Jarvan. And Paige just got to do whatever he wanted,
Yeah.
Like, it just feels kind of similar, where aiming's just sitting here doing whatever he wants. I mean, they've put a decent amount of pressure on him, but he has been playing it well.
This draft here for KT was designed to play through aiming, and he got the lead in the early game against Perfect, and he, we asked the question, will he be able to do it? They often are not looking at a game state where he is the only one who's got a gold lead and he has to carry, but this draft is well set up for him, and he is doing a great job. As once again, a risky Baron attempt for Kiwoom DRX is going to look to be punished here by KT.
Ucal is on vision, so BDD eventually just going to press his buttons. Flash Timbers! Ucal is dead! And that's the end of this fight for Kiwoom DRX, as the damage into Rich is insane at this point. Aiming just shredding through the Sion. And what was a well-meant, nice little surround team fight there from Kiwoom DRX ends up being a disaster.
And Score's record is in jeopardy. Again, it's just game 1 here, but comeback like this for KT Rolster, sky's the limit, it feels like. As, Ucal just doesn't know he's on vision. But at this point, you're like, I've got to try something tricky. Maybe we can use the Baron to bait them in, and I'll get a really nice ult. But he doesn't get to play the game because he's just stunned and he explodes. And then, Rich is just not tanky anymore into this much damage from the Sivir, who is very close now to full build. Like earlier you mentioned it, but he's actually just about to do it. And this is like new AD carry role quest full build.
Yep.
Craziness.
Yeah, he has old full build already.
Yeah.
31 minutes. And the Dragons haven't really been a big, contest point for either of these teams. As Ocean Soul, Kiwoom, lost the team fight before the last one, so they couldn't stack up
any gold kings
point
in the server?
Yes.
Jeez.
There is one, actually. It's aiming on the side of KT. Now they're trying to take down this individual Drake. I don't know if they can actually manage it. They're trying to get this flank going, but once again, aiming is right there. The follow-up is not, and they get the dragon instead. Cuzz takes a lot of damage.
BD is on the flank here with Tibbers set and stun set. I think this might be the beginning of the end. You gotta fight your way out somehow, Kiwoom.
Well, they're trying to turn onto aiming, who just flashes away. BD gets hit, but it's messy. He just kind of dies. As aiming says, it's okay, I'm here to do the damage. And aiming, he's so low, but the Yuumi and the bounces to get Ucal. Oh, that's gotta feel bad. The last ricochet. And yeah, you can see Rich just like, I'll help, I guess, eventually. And they'll take down LazyFeel eventually, it feels like, but he does hop away and uses his flash. The speed up may be enough here from aiming, as he says, well, I'll turn my sights on to Rich, actually.
He just doesn't care about Rich. He's like,
yeah.
Stop annoying me. I'm trying to kill the AD carry. Go away. It's so funny how Rich is like, I think we can turn this. Almost you could feel like he's like, maybe I can tank this enough, and then LazyFeel can do the damage. And aiming just looks at him and he turns into dust.
They're actually just playing with their food at this point.
Yeah.
Like, chasing them all over the jungle. Shock Blast's not going to hit. And it hasn't been the cleanest game from KT, but I think at the end of this, I'll just be saying a win's a win. Move on to game 2. Clean 1-0, nothing to see here.
I think the only one that you might be worried about going into game 2 is Cuzz, because the early game didn't go well. The choice of early game gank location of the top lane in the Jayce Sion matchup was the most bizarre. I think the idea is, we don't really have to talk about this team fight. I mean, we can. It's really sad for Kiwoom DRX. BDD also, the one moment here of BDD is they kind of messed this up. So BDD actually gets focused. It's a really nice turn. Willer sees him here when he goes into the dash cannon, and they just explode him with Ucal's help, and LazyFeel's layering the damage in. But aiming, watch aiming. He's just like, I just kill anything so fast that it doesn't matter. I don't need a front line. And Cuzz comes up here. But my point is with this draft for KT, they ended up going for a draft where they have a winning top side early. They played through that. Aiming won the lane. They won the lane basically at level 1. And if LazyFeel and LazyFeel and Andil didn't get that kill back, those 2 kills back, this could have been even more disastrous in the early game. Cuzz just did not get to play what he wanted. Is okay, we're just fighting more.
Yeah, I think Rich thought he was Assassin Sion and said maybe I can kill aiming here. As we saw, aiming is at full health and did not lose any health during that trade. And tons of bounce damage as well. I mean, when you're hitting only a Sion, and there's even a Neeko with like a clone, and everybody's in your face because the Zhao's there, the Aurora's close range, the Sivir just, I don't know. It's just free for her.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
Aiming is having an awesome time.
It's like, how much food can he eat? Well, for him, he's like, well, how much food's on the table?
Yeah.
In terms of health bars, that Sion is pretty tasty, and that's going to be an inhibitor, as Cuzz is on the cross here in the mid lane to take out a second one. And frankly, they basically have the siege to end the game right now if they kill anybody else. But they could just back away. They don't have to force this. Baron will be up in 90 seconds, and look at all the vision they have between Kiwoom's base and the Baron itself. This game started off weird. Cuzz couldn't make the impact he wanted. BDD's 1 in 5 in terms of kills. Ucal played the laning phase with the counter pick really well. But the Sivir got too big. And yeah.
He just did it. He's like, okay, I went back. I now have full builds.
He also opts not to get a GA because he's like, nah, they can't kill me. I have a Yuumi. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think he's right.
And the Ucal's the only threat, so just get a little bit of MR and you're chilling.
If they did go and kill him with the GA, then maybe just the Yuumi dies immediately. So he's like, well, either I die or I would die after the GA as well. I don't know. LazyFeel is already taking some damage as BDD this time is going to hit his Tivers into Andil, and aiming is here, so you know what that means. He's ready to party, and Cuzz is just frontlining Willer, very separated from the rest of the team. Aiming does take some damage, but immediately heals all of it up. And that's another one team fight here for KT as they look to push mid.
It looked for a moment like maybe KT was going to lose a third game, but it is just not happening in this one. Aiming 7,600 gold ahead alone.
Yeah.
Ucal, good try.
Good try. And Tina, the KRX ambassador, not feeling too good about the situation. KT, clean 1-0, nothing to see here. They get the win, and they can move on to game 2.
Very good performance from aiming, and